Well, thanks for coming in, homie.
For sure, buddy.
Yeah. Dude, we go back a long time, and I know your story, but I'd love for the listeners to hear your story. How did you even get into real estate?
Real estate was, I don't know that I would say I fully chose real estate.
Did it choose you?
Yeah, it might have. The path might have gone that way just coming from the mortgage world, right? I started with Wells Fargo in their home equity division up in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and did my thing up there, got a job down here, transferred, did loan origination with them for 7 or 8 years, and then did management and did other different positions. And, you learn the business very quickly and you learn that side of it. And in my opinion, I think that's the scarier part of the whole real estate transactions because that's the money part. The house is fun, right? You get a brand new house, you get to hang out, you get to do what you want to it, you get to call it your home, but then everybody's like, oh my gosh, I've got to pay a mortgage for the next 30 years or 15 years or whatever it is. So when you can help people make that transition and have that conversation, it's a lot, I don't know, it just seems to go a lot smoother. So in 2014, made the change, got into real estate, got my license, and I wouldn't say I exploded out of the gate in real estate, but you just don't know when your business is being given to you on one end and then you go to the different side of it, you go to the other side and it's not given to you. Where do you find it?
Yeah.
And that was probably the biggest shock for me. So,
but let's unpack. So I got 2 questions now. How did you get into mortgages first?
I mean, that was as simple. I had a friend that worked within the office and I needed a job. And okay. I wanted to go. I was like, oh, Wells Fargo, that's a good company. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So I'd known her for quite a while. So I was like, put me in contact with somebody. And thank goodness that worked out.
Yeah. Well, then, and so I know you went from there to real estate, but was there a conscious decision of, hey, I'm done with the numbers and that side of it and working on the financial side of real estate. I want to actually do the houses. Was there that? What made you make the decision to say, I'm going to be a realtor now?
For me, in the area that I was at, we had a lot of conversations. It was more like a call center environment. So our pipelines were anywhere from 150 to 250 active loans at a time.
Wow.
It was big, but you're talking to people and they more become a number, right? Mm-hmm. You have great conversations with people, but unfortunately I'm not the person that's going to remember every single conversation to the nth degree. So, I realized that on the real estate side, you were able to sit down with people. You're able to have those conversations. You're able to build those relationships. And not that you can't do large volume, but I mean, if I ever get to the point where I'm doing 150 to 250 loans a month, that'll be a good day.
Right.
But until then, it's a lot easier to keep those relationships in mind. And I just never got to sit down with clients and get to know them and get to know their background and who they are and where they're from and their kids and where they go to school. And I just didn't get that in the mortgage world. So real estate's really provided that for me to build better relationships, to get to know people more. And it's fun to see where people go, right?
That's pretty cool.
I know we've all got our journey, but it's fun to be able to know those journeys and watch them.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been in the real estate now?
Started in 2014. So technically this September will be 10 years.
Wow. That'll come up in a decade.
That's right, buddy.
Dude, that's awesome. You made it.
I think you've known me for at least 8.
Yeah.
8 of those at least.
Yeah. So you alluded in the beginning. So you started, you were on a team, you were getting leads because didn't really have a base here, right? Like born and raised in Colorado?
Yeah. Well, theoretically I was born in Lake Havasu City, but my parents were in really Southern California. So there was no place to deliver babies in the city. So mom had to go down to Lake Havasu City, born there. Lived in really Southern California, a place called Needles, California. Then moved to Colorado Springs when I was 4. So
the majority of your upbringing was Colorado, and then came here. So, starting here, not really a lot of contacts and whatnot. Started with a team. How did that all start?
In the real estate world?
Yeah.
It was, I knew after I told you I didn't start real hot, and I reached out to a buddy of mine that was in the title world, and I said, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm coming from. I said, it'd be nice to kind of have that happy medium of don't go out and find 100% of your business, but it's not just all given to you. So the gentleman put me in contact. He goes, I got the perfect group. And as you know, Kevin and Fred over at Group 4610, he put me in contact with those guys, and it was the perfect hybrid. Literally, they'd give us some leads. We'd do role playing in the morning. We'd go over leads. We'd do scripts and all that stuff from like 8 to noon. And then your afternoons were to basically go hammer out business and get out of the office and do appointments and show houses and all that stuff. So it was like that perfect blend of, old call center environment to start breeding the new environment in the afternoon. So it worked really well for me.
Yeah, well, coming from Wells Fargo, that was call center, all leads given to you, nothing organic. You didn't have to go hunt because there's 100 to 150 in your pipeline every month. I got to serve all these people that are coming in from Wells Fargo, giant company, to now, hey, I'm going to go on this venture, and now what? Now what?
Yeah.
Right. So you get the leads, kind of like the Wells Fargo model.
Yeah.
You're building that business up. What were some of the struggles that you had in that? Because again, in the beginning, just like when I went to my loan officer license, like they don't teach me. I call it the street smarts. Like you said, role play. Like there was none of that. It was Greg like past what's this Graham Leach Bliley law thing, and right, A, B, or C, get your license and go.
Yeah.
Versus hey, you need to build relationships with realtors and builders and professionals, and this is how you're going to get your referral based business. Right? And so you did the smart thing, in my opinion, was joined a team that had already gone the way that could then teach you the way.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting because you would think you would want to, like everybody that just wants to be, do real estate transactions with you. Everybody's going to send you everybody. And then unfortunately that might be a little bit of a reality check at the beginning, because you think everybody's going to use you, but then you actually realize you're like, okay, in a business professional world, am I going to use a brand new doctor? Am I going to use a brand new lawyer? Am I going to use a brand new tax person? And when my wife and I talked about it, it's like, you have to earn that business. It's not just automatically given to you because they like you or they're friends with you. So, you think you're going to do that. So you start finding people via the leads at the group I was with. You start making the phone calls, you start having the conversations, and you start building the confidence, and you start getting stuff that starts closing, and you really get a good feel for the process and how to do it, and people see that.
Well, we're both basketball fans, so I like sport analogies, right?
Yeah.
So if your guys are just getting more shots, hitting more, practicing more from the free throw line, and working with others that are run at a high caliber, then I'm just gonna get better.
Yeah, it's natural. At least it should be.
So there's been an evolution, right? So then obviously we know you left that team, went on. What was the next iteration of Daren?
The next iteration was towards the end of that, being with that group, I started just doing more deals within the people I know. And at some point you're like, I've got the confidence, I've got the skills to go out and start building those relationships to the next level. You do a couple deals when they're taking maybe a little bit larger chunk of the commission than you want, and you realize you're like, maybe I'm missing out on something here, but at the same time, it was more just like, it's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, right? Like you just want to spread your wings, and you got to take that step at some point.
That must have been hard.
It wasn't easy because that was the model I knew for so long, right? It's almost like call center-ish environment, and going out and not having that anymore. It was interesting, but it was way more rewarding too. To be able to have people reaching out to you and asking you questions, whether it's real estate related or it's just anywhere in the industry, whether it's like, I need a contractor, I need a plumber, I need, an electrician, I need somebody, what do you know about staging and furniture and stuff? And when people start reaching out to you for those things, it's extremely rewarding because it just shows they trust you.
Feels good.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that just gives me so much energy and so much appreciation for the people I know, because, it's just another level of relationship, and I love that.
So this is cool because you had this transition, right? I go from call center Wells Fargo to hybrid call center relationship, more transition into being solo relationship-based referrals, no leads given to me anymore. Like that was a whole transition. What does the business look like now?
It's very much referral and past clients and working with that. I guess I should throw in there at some point. I remember coming to you and talking to you about doing Zillow leads. Very much remember that. And I was like, hey, do you want to do it? And you're like, nope. which totally caught me off guard because I was like, oh, Greg would totally want to do this. So you were like, you gave me this, and I'll never forget you going over this, and you said, you can spend this amount of money on Zillow leads, and that's great. You can do it. He goes, but you said, what happens if you spend that same amount of money on the people you know? And I'd never really thought about it from that angle. I'm like, oh, wow, that makes so much sense, yet that thought never even crossed my mind. And I think it did take me a minute to understand what you meant by that, because spending money on people you know, you're like, well, what do? Just go buy them stuff? Like, what does that even mean? But it just more meant be a part of their lives.
I like that.
Whether it's going to their kids' Little League game, whether it's, meeting up with them and knowing that they're going to an anniversary dinner and sending a bottle of wine, or just all those small little things that I think we probably think in life to do, but I don't know that we always pull the trigger. We're like, oh, that'd be really nice if we did that. But when you start actually just saying, oh, when you have the thought, do it.
Yes.
Don't second guess it.
Yeah.
Just say, do it. And that's gone a long ways in just, building that pipeline and building that relationship group.
Well, look, I think I remember that conversation, and it was great advice, wasn't it?
It was pretty good, I would admit.
Well, look, I mean, you think about it, you have people that already know, like, and trust you. They've transacted with you, and it's like, how do I just stay in touch with them? And we think, like, oh, they're just going to come back to me. Mm-mm. And they might. So, and there's for sure a percentage that would. I just think the likelihood's higher when you stay in a deeper relationship with them, and not just, let me mail them something, let me call them, but calling them with value, right? Hey, do you need a contractor? Do you need a handyman? Do you need anything? I'm here for you, right? But then also, I love how you said to be a part of their lives, right? And I know you just came off of your event. So how many years have you been doing your spring training client event?
This is year 3.
And how has that evolved? Because I think that's money as a leveraged event to stay in front. Because even though you might have 35, 50 something people come, that's not all of them, but they all get invited. What does that look like from the first year you launched it? What kind of things went along in that process when you first said, hey, I'm going to do this? What were some of the thoughts, and what did you do then? And then we'll get into the how has it evolved.
Well, when it started, it was one of those, is anybody going to show up? Like, you just don't know, right? You've never done it before. You're like, hopefully people come. And it was a simple send it out, send an invite. Let's all go sit in the grass at a spring training game. It was super relaxed. It was a little chaotic, right? You don't know how to do all the ticket stuff. And you just don't know what you don't know. And I think you worry about the little things that you don't need to. Like, at the end of the day, people are coming because they want to be around you. They want to see you. And if you've built those relationships right, you're catching up at those events. It's just a means to meet up with people. Yeah. Right? That's what you really are trying to create. So, it was a little chaotic. We did it down at, what was it? The Cub Stadium the first year. And I think we ended up having like 20 people. And so, you do it the
people
first
showed
year.
Up.
Yeah. Amazingly enough, they did. And it was fun. It was a good time. I always have questions for you in these worlds because it's so hard I'm not very good at just having a 30-second conversation with people. I always want to sit down and really get to hear what's going on. So I had to also work on that, because sitting down for 20 minutes at a time with each person, it is good, but it also meant I might not be able to have those interactions with others that came as well. So there's little things that you got to learn here and there, but.
So into the event that just happened, how have you evolved your systems with, maybe it's the tickets, maybe the organization, the meeting spot? How has everything evolved? Have you made it better?
I would say it's still a work in progress, but we do giveaways at the events. We try to keep it a little more consistent as far as getting it out early, because I know a lot of people, we all get busy. So you got to get that stuff out there. Yeah. You really got to get it out there so people get on their calendars. But, more and more people ask you about it through the year.
Nice.
They're like, oh, where are we going this year? Are we going to the Rockies? We're going to, the Cubs. Like, where are we going? So it almost becomes, I don't want to call it an expectation, but for people to have that thought year round and be looking forward to it, it's kind of fun to be tied to that. Right? It's
really cool.
And at the end of the day, in my mind, I'm just like, oh, let's just go see a game.
Yeah.
But I think it means more to them on their end, because I don't know that a lot of people do stuff like that,
No.
because a lot of people are like, well, what do you want? Like, they think that you're
Right.
wanting something out of them. At the end of the day, I tell them, like, I think the only thing I want is to make sure the people, whether it's friends or family, are being taken care of, and whether it's the real estate world or whatever they need. Like, if
Yeah.
I can help them, absolutely, let's do it. But I'm not expecting anything from them.
That's cool. Well, I think it's also like, am I operating in a relational manner or a transactional manner?
Yeah.
Simple. And so transactional is, hey, here's your keys. Congrats on the house. Super excited for you. Later. Even if, and you might have been like, hey, the keys are at the title company. Congrats on the house. Like, that's super transactional.
Yeah.
Versus the, hey, here's your keys. Hey, hey, I'm swinging by on moving day. How's it going? Brought you some pizzas. Hey, I'll see you. Hey, don't forget our annual spring training event's going to be in the spring. Obviously, that's why you call it spring training. And hey, I'll send you that invite. It could be now, and I'm promoting it to the clients I'm closing now, right? But it's a way that now that it's 3 years in, you now have a consistent thing where you have the people that have gone in the past are looking forward to the next one. And the future ones are, hey, I've been doing this for 3 years. They don't even associate it to, oh, what's he want?
Yeah.
Because it's something that you've been doing for all your past clients.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. This is the first year my wife, Katrina, got a little bit more in on it. So she was helping out, and she was enjoying herself as well. I mean, she's more of an introvert than myself. So she's not huge into getting out there and, being the social butterfly that I may be. But she found herself actually having a great time catching up with people, because I always talk about the clients that I work with, and she's like, oh, yeah, I remember such and such, and oh, I remember you talking about them. So it's fun for her to put a face to a name and that type of thing. So
that's really cool.
It's fun.
Yeah. Now let's talk, because this is huge, because I think that, again, a lot of people come in the business, they don't get a playbook, they don't get the street smarts for real estate or mortgage. What are some of the other things you do now that you've built up this database of people that you've helped over the years to stay in that relationship mode?
The biggest things we're doing right now is as weird as it sounds, we're gifting a lot. We're doing a lot of gifts to people, because there's so many different events, and we kind of keep track on social media, right? Whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. Everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, but most people have a lot of life events going on. And, when you have a dog die, that's hard, right? You have a parent pass away, that's hard. And we always want to show appreciation or show, that we're thinking about them when anything like that happens. So we have certain things that we like to send out at those times when those things go down. And I don't know, it's just the look and the conversations or the emails or the texts that you get after, be like, hey man, I know your dog passed away and we're thinking of you. I don't know that you get a lot of that genuine care out of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, people say, I'm sorry to hear that, but to kind of go the extra step and say, hey, here's something to remember, Bojangles by, it's like something on the wall, because I've got a picture of my dog that passed away on the wall, and, you see it weekly and you're like, it just brings back good memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can be a part of those types of things and just, it's just nice to be there for them in those scenarios. But outside of the gifting, a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messaging, a lot of emails, just giving updates on people. And before, when I first started doing that, I didn't know what to talk to people about. Like, you're like, do you want to buy or sell a house? Do you want to buy or sell a house? Like, that's the first thing that kind of goes through your brain. But as over time, when you start to get to know these people, you're like, oh, did Johnny end up going to Syracuse?
Wow.
Oh, how did that Thanksgiving dinner go? You said you had the in-laws over and you were a little nervous about that. Like, you just get into these different things, and it's almost like you're just catching up on who they are.
Do you naturally remember all that, or are you keeping some or all in your CRM?
I would love to think I could remember all that, but no, not at all.
So some of it, the highlights sometimes.
Some stuff.
Like, you're talking to someone, you remember, oh, wait, wasn't your kid going to go to Syracuse? Right, like that.
Yeah.
But most of it's, you're like,
you got to document.
Hey, I need to download that into the CRM so I can catch up later.
You got to make a note, whether it's, you could even put it in the notes in
their contact
or something like that. But I do think the CRM is probably the best route to go. Mm-hmm. It's the most efficient. It's the easiest. You can take notes as you're talking, but yeah, you just have those conversations. You're catching up with them, and I think I don't know where I heard this phrase, but I remember somebody telling me about the phrase commission breath. And when I first got started, I didn't understand what they were really talking about. But now that I look back, you're like,
Want to buy or sell a house?
Yeah, that was like, you could tell that was like, you might be asking a question, but it was like the phrase behind it that you were intentionally trying to get to.
Yes.
And I think people feel that.
They feel it.
Whether you're going to a car dealership, whether you're going to buying a TV or whatever, like not a lot of people like that person lingering, being like, all right, what do you want? What do you want to buy? What do you want to get? So when you stop that and you just say, I'm not worried if you buy or sell a house. I'm worried about helping you in what you need.
Mm.
Right? Once you actually just help people in what they're talking about, what they want to know, and actually listen to what they're saying, and not just say, I have a goal behind what I want to say.
Yeah.
But actually listen and go down the path. It's like, oh, maybe we don't need to talk about, your house today.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
You and I were talking about Phil Jones.
Oh,
right. Exactly what to say.
Love Phil.
And, if for those agents that are listening, Phil Jones know exactly what to say. He wrote the Little Words book. There was some great phrases in there, but I think one of the things you touched upon was, the goal isn't, hey, I need a sale. The goal is, let me listen when I ask the right question that gets them to give me their needs and wants.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what are you really looking for? And the look might be, I just need a handyman. I just need are you fixing up your house to sell?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You're like, hey,
totally.
yeah, no worries. Let me send my guy over. Okay, cool. Hey, I need an AC guy. Yeah, no problem. I'll send my guy over there. He'll give you a deal. Oh, great. And then eventually it's, hey, Daren, I've done enough stuff to my house now. I think I'm ready to list.
Yeah.
You've been helping me along the whole way.
Yeah.
Right?
And I do think it's not as many people do it because it's the long play. Right? It is not immediate. There's very few times that you're building those relationships that they turn that quickly. So I think that's why a lot of people don't do it.
Well, I mean, you look at, and again, you've made a great transition because commission breadth is probably what you're taught in the call center environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then you made this, and then even starting in real estate, semi-call center, I still need that, right? But then you turn into, no, I'm just going to ask these people what they really want. Mm-hmm. And then if I deliver on what they want, they'll then transact with me. And then I can keep them forever as long as I keep adding proper value, which value is different for every person. Because the value for the investor is, hey, I found you a deal that can cash flow and appreciate and make money. It's in a neighborhood where the Taiwanese chip plant's going in and whatever. And that's the conversation versus the couple that's like, yeah, we're trying to get into that school. And you're like, well, I know the dean of admissions. Let me connect you with him. Or, yeah, we're trying to do this, go on this vacation. You're like, oh, I have someone that just went there and you can get the VIP package. Let me get you the services that he used.
Yeah.
Nothing about the house, the real estate, just I'm here to help.
It just hits deeper.
Yeah.
Like if you're helping some parents get their kids into a school, I mean, there's very few things that you can do in this world that's going to impact deeper than that.
Right.
And once again, that's fun to see down the road. If you have that impact with somebody and you have those conversations and say something positive comes from it, well, like 3, 4, 5 years down the road, that kid's now going into middle school. And I don't know, it's fun to watch the journey. Like we're all in our own bubbles, right? We're all doing our own thing and you've just got your own agendas. But when you really take a step back and you look at what people are doing and how different everybody's world is, and you're like, oh man, if I can do something to help with what they've got going on, that's awesome, man.
That's great.
It's fun.
Yeah. Okay, so we got event. What do you do other events besides the spring training? Do you have other events that you're doing too?
Yeah, we've done a few other things. We're working on a movie on the rooftop at Harkins.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had it until, gosh, who found that for me? I think Katrina found that for me. You can go on the rooftop of Harkins at Fashion Square and watch a movie outside with headphones on and just experience moving a totally different way. So we got stuff like that. We've done Top Golf where people get together and get a little competitive with the golfing. As you know, I'm a little bit of a golfer. We just try to keep it fun. We just try to, do different things. The goal is to get a little more consistent this year with at least one thing quarterly.
An event quarterly?
Yeah, trying to do something quarterly. And, I think the biggest thing is just getting creative, right? Because you learn things from different events that you do in the past, but as long as at the core of it is getting to know your clients / your partners and the people you've worked with and getting to know what they want and just, I don't know, just being around them is just that's all you can ask for, right?
It's pretty cool.
If they're willing to give you your time like that, that says a lot.
Yeah. Well, it says a lot about you and them as well. So we got the events, we got the calls. What other things do you mail or email? Newsletters or just solds, or do you do any sort of hard mail?
We're doing some hard mail. A lot of we've really kind of started an experiment within my own community that I live in. It's not huge. It's like 127 houses, but we're doing flyers once a month in that community to where some of the times we'll put stuff about homes that are for sale or that are sold, but we're kind of doing monthly restaurants within the community. It's like, hey, go to this restaurant and it's got, get 10% off your meal, or check out this new burger place that's opening up. Or we're trying to keep it very local because I think we all get plenty of things in the mail that probably go immediately to the trash can. And with this stuff, it's like, hey, if it helps you find out about, Paradise Valley Burger Company that's right down the road that not a lot of people talk about, or they go to this place and they're like, oh, I didn't know that they sold that stuff, or they had a happy hour that went like this. I think there's so much seriousness in life. It's just nice to bring those types of fun things to people.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So I'll tie this back in, but what about social media? Do you do much on social? Are you active there? Do you invite your clients to follow you? What do you do there?
I'm decently active on social media. I would never say I'm great at it. I try to be as genuine as possible and just kind of put stuff out there that I think people would want to see. I know I'm huge on knowing what's going on in the valley, new hotels, businesses, restaurants that are happening, whether, rates are going up or down. People really want to know about that because that impacts what they can and do with their financial transactions. But in my mind, I try to simplify social media. In my mind, I just try to say, the goal is just to make sure I'm top of mind whenever they think of real estate. Like, maybe I should go deeper into it. That might not be a terrible idea, but at the end of the day, I'm posting stuff about houses and stuff that we do, and it's just kind of me being me.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm super targeted with it, but at the same time, I get a lot of good feedback on it, and I think as real estate agents, we can probably brag a little too much about what we do. We want the spotlight on us, right? It's like, look what I did, and I would much rather deflect and put that light on other people and just say, look. That's why whenever we close a deal, we like putting a profile and a conversation about the people that actually closed on the house. We just want to say, hey,
highlight them.
Yeah, let's talk about Max and Megan, who we met 5 years ago when they first had their baby, and they've come so far, and they do this. Now, we don't give away personal information, but just tell the story of the people. I don't need the spotlight to be on me. I'd much rather be on them because that's what this is about. It's about them. It's not me.
Well, and the stories are more relatable, right? So when someone reads that story, you're like, oh, I didn't know. Wow, they were a first-time home buyer and they got in with 5% down, or they got in with $0 and walked away with $100. Like, how'd that happen?
Yeah.
So the story, rather than if I said, hey, there's this great loan program where you can get in and get $100 when you walk away from the closing table, they'd be like, commission breath.
Yeah, next.
Okay? Versus hey, we just helped Max and Megan and they did this and they transferred from here, and we're like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Let me call that guy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I probably simplified a little too much, but in my mind, it just makes it easier because I'm not a big wanting the spotlight.
Look at me, right?
I'm just never been that way.
Yeah, no, that's good. Now, if I was to scroll through, what percentage do you think is personal versus business?
That's a good question. I would probably say it's close to 50-50.
Cool.
I try to, it's my own personal spot or my own personal page on Instagram and Facebook. So, people like people.
Right.
They don't like, I know they like things, but they want to relate to people. They want to see what other people are doing. They want to see the events, or they want to see the life things that are going on. And yeah, I post real estate on there because I want to educate people and I want people to know. But at the same time, the relationship seems to be more with me than the business.
Yeah.
At least that's how I try to do it.
They do business with people you know, like, and trust, but this is the people that you know, like, and trust, not, oh, I like the house he just posted. Let me call him for that house.
Yeah, and then social media is great. I mean, obviously it branches all over the world, but I mean, I've had buddies in Chicago hit me up about listing a house and like what price they should do. I've had another guy other places ask me about different things, and I mean, they're not even here locally. but they just know that, you're in this business long enough and they trust you and they see you. They're like, if I'm going to ask anybody, I'm going to ask that guy. And that's a good feeling.
It's a reputation and a brand that you've built.
Yeah.
It's just how do they find it? It's on social.
Yeah.
And so when you look at social, like, what is that? What is it? So that's cool. What I was thinking was when you talked about your newsletter or your flyers that are going out, have you ever thought of interviewing the owners of those restaurants and then having like a QR code or something that goes, or are you doing that already?
That is the next evolution.
Yeah.
So the goal is to get in contact with those people and be able to have those sit down. So we're in the process of meeting up with those people and getting that. Yeah, I think it'd be great to be able to push it to that level, because now not only are you helping people and giving people great information, but now you're also helping the small businesses, pushing people to their restaurants, doing different things. So it can be twofold with that, but
for sure, right? Like I mean, and I do it. They can share it. I can share it. I can make them a collaborator.
Yeah.
I can then take that and put it as a link to go to my flyer. So someone sees it and says, hey, scan here for an interview with the owner. And you're like, oh. And then, people scan it and then like, oh. And then they see a quick, like 30-second interview with the guy. Like, hey, how'd you get started with this place? Cool. Yeah. Hey, if they mention Daren, you get 10% off your bagels. Like, whatever.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Like the Italian daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you done that place yet, or is that in that farm?
I have not done the Italian.
But you've been there
yet. Yes.
Good spot.
It's pretty tasty. I'm not going to argue. I mean, we're a little snobbish when it comes to Italian food because we've done Italy a couple times. So you come back home and you think your expectations.
Everything's a comparison.
Yeah, it's not fair. But yeah, you go the Italian daughters. It's quality food, man. I mean, I would put it up there against the stuff we had over in Italy for sure.
Wow. There's a testimonial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Market.
Well, I mean, you say that to the owner, they're going to be like, oh my God, thanks, man.
I know, right?
But that's just taking it to another, and that's, obviously I can send that to my clientele, but some of your clientele might be different parts of the valley. This is actually to go to an area where you're farming for a new business.
Yeah. Yeah. You do it locally. You really want to have an area that you can focus on. Right? An area that because people want an area expert a lot of times. They want you to know, or they want to know that you know the area, that you know what you're talking about, and you have a good feeling for their house and what it will do. A lot of people are different when it comes to how they want you to sell their house, whether it's just strictly money driven or we want a family to get this house just like we did when we got the home. So it's a lot of different ways that you do that. But when you can show them, it's like, hey, I've got kids that go over to school over here, or I've helped these people put in their backyard, 2 years ago. And you can just show it's like, hey, I know this place. It goes a long way for sure.
Yeah. So that's good. So we've talked about database, now a little bit into farming. So you picked a place that you obviously knew. Is it close to where you live?
I mean, it's literally where I live.
Even better.
Yeah.
So I like that because you live there, so you really know the area, but also, and you can say that like, hey, I live in your area. I'm a neighbor of yours. But also the fact that if business comes up or when the business comes up, it's close by. Like I'm literally driving, right? Rather than saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to start marketing in Queen Creek, and it's a 45-minute drive every time someone says, I'd like to come do a listing appointment or show me houses. Like that would be a bad plan. Yeah. So geographically, it's close. Is there a size that you picked so that you could go a little deeper and financially sustain the flyers? Like I don't want to do a 5,000 community that's where I live, because that can be super expensive and it kind of dilutes the relationship. So did you pick a number is that why you picked a low number? And what was the number?
Yeah, like I said, the community is about 127 houses. So, and it worked out well because I did want to start small because it is like a beta test. It's like, how well does this work? Because in my mind, I know when I think of flyers, I think of stuff I get in the mail and I'm like,
right.
You're just tossing it out.
Toss.
Like, no need. But in all actuality, once again, you brought it up before, when you provide value, a lot of people are asked, they'll be like, well, why are you sending out stuff about restaurants? You're in real estate. Mm-hmm. And it's more just like, I want people to get to know the community. I want people to get to know what's out there and great restaurants and things to do. And the more vested people are in the community, the more excited they are about where they live. More people want to live there. That normally translates to higher values, right? People want to live there. That gets more demand. Therefore, it drives prices up. And maybe that's not best for everybody, but when you're a homeowner in that community, you really like that.
Heck yeah. So what's some of the other stuff you're doing for that community? So we're flyering them.
That's step one is flyering them. the next step is to do what you were talking about with the QR codes and maybe some discounts. We kind of want to get an event within the community as well. Like whether it's the one that keeps coming to mind right now is a movie for like Halloween. I think it'd be fun because lots of kids want to go out there and trick or treat. And our community is really good for trick or treating. But you get a screen up, right? You get like some fun Halloween movies going, and then you kind of make it like a community get together. It just has that safety feel to it. Everybody's getting to know each other. Yeah, that's in the works, but I have not put that in place yet. But we've got some time.
You got some time.
It's October. We got some time to do that.
Well, I've seen places pull off like churches do, like trunk or treat.
Yeah.
So people decorate their cars, and then they have all the stuff in there, and it's, like you said, it's safe. And then you throw up the screen, and that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's good. I just always get the question, why are you doing this?
I live in the community.
Yeah.
Giving back to my community.
Yeah, it's just always
But
interesting.
sometimes I don't even need to give an answer.
No, you don't. I mean, you can just say, I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But the answer I've normally given in the past is, being in real estate and being an entrepreneur, you're given the ability to invest in whatever you want. So I want to invest in the people I know and love in the community I'm in. So
I like that. That's a great answer.
It's just, I don't know, man. It just feels right.
Yeah.
It feels right.
Yeah. I'll tell you, if you're looking at, and we've talked about events and stuff that we've done. I've had someone do a water safety event, because in Arizona, one is too many for drownings.
Yeah.
And so we've had, the fire department shows up. You get someone out there to teach CPR. You have maybe like the Hubbard Swim School, the emergency swim one,
That's a great
the infant swim one where they, like my kids both went through it, where like to graduate, they throw them in with clothes and shoes on, and they have to flip on their back and float and then swim to the side. And then I remember they took Kai's sweatshirt off after. So the first time he went in, they throw him in, and then he has to flip over and float. And then he swims to the side. Then they took his sweatshirt off and didn't tell him. Once he was floating the second time, they threw the sweatshirt over his face.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, now we're all in the pool, like, and we've already been through the course with him, but it was like, oh my God, how stressful.
Yeah.
But that stress, man, he's like a ridiculous swimmer. And I'm confident, and I was when he was little, confident that if they ever fell in the pool, they were going to be fine. But it was infant swim rescue. So we had them come out to do that event too. Then we had them doing like, drawing, and then we had like Costco cookies and little stuff. So it was fun.
Yeah.
But that's a great event for it's a community event. We had a Kona ice truck. It was just, it was fun, but it was impactful because it's water safety, and it's something that we all need.
That's a big thing here. So many pools. I'm trying to think of anything else we've done. I guess over the past year, we've started doing, when we do our open houses, especially opening weekend when they hit the market, we do food trucks within the community.
Nice.
So we get a food truck out there and we send out flyers letting the whole community know that we're going to be doing that. And, if there's anything people like to know is they like to know what's going on around them. So they see the open house, they see the food truck, they come on out. And a lot of people always question that too. They're like, well, why do you care if the neighbors come out? Like, they're not trying to buy a house. And it's like, it's not always about that, like we've been talking about. But at the same time, people notice those things.
Yeah.
People see those things, and it puts that
They
little
wanna go
wrinkle
sell
in
their
their
house.
brain.
Yeah.
And whether if it's you or your mom or your coworker or whatever, you're going to say, oh, I know a guy that did that open house that had a food truck.
It's different.
You should call him.
Yes.
It just hits different, like you just said. It hits different.
Well, I always say money follows attention. So I had to get attention in order to then transact with them for us to make money. Because they're making money with you too, right? They're making money whether they're buying a house or selling a house. Yeah. But you're the one that's the facilitator of that. But I had to get their attention first.
Yeah.
And the attention isn't, there's an open house sign, I'm holding an open house. That's some attention. But then when there's balloons and 20 signs, that's more attention. And then when there's a little sign flipper, but then when there's a food truck, right? And we've done some where we had the taco truck in the back. So they had to go through the house to get to the taco truck.
Oh, that's good.
Can't get to the food truck without, right? So
That's
we
really
parked and you've had the taco truck, Liz with the taco lady. She's ridiculous. But they would wheel it in the backyard, and they would say, hey, come on in, it's tacos in the back. And they would all come through the house, see the beautiful house, enter into your drawing, and then get some tacos.
Yeah.
Money follows attention.
That's a great way to put that. I never really I never even really thought of it that way. That's good.
So what else? What else for anything else for farming? So I mean, you're doing a lot.
I mean, we do the traditional stuff. Like we use HomeBot quite a bit. You know, we set that up for people, anybody that's homeowners. And I'm big on anybody I know, like within my top 50 or 100 sphere. I do go a little, I do a little creepy style and go on to the tax records, and I set my friends up with all that stuff because I want my friends to know when a house is coming to the market, or if a house sold high in their community or sold low. And I just wanted to research their properties and let them know it's like, hey, I've got you.
Nice.
I've got you taken care of. If you have questions on anything, if you want me to call the agent and be like, hey, the house has been listed for 30 days. What's going on with it? Yeah, I'll give them a call. I'll see what's going on. I'll see if they'll accept a 20% lower offer if my friends want to buy an investment property right down the road. You never know. So it just gives them information and keeps them educated on their community.
That's a great tactic. Yeah. Okay. What else?
What else?
Every time I ask, it's some gold
it's
comes
almost like
out.
Stuff that just keeps coming, right?
Oh, dang! What else are you doing for the farm?
It's more just. I guess it's always evolving because when you're having the conversations with your people, kind of like we talked about before, you're listening and you're hearing things that either people might want or need or anything along those lines. So I guess I could say to be determined right now, but yeah, the more conversations you can have and the better value you can bring to people in any aspect whatsoever. That's my goal.
Yeah. Well, I say it's a contact sport, but I say there's got to be quality in the contact.
That brings up something really good because coming from a call center environment, I thought I had to talk to 40, 50, 60, 70 people a day. And when I would go through that, I wouldn't necessarily give the quality time or give the quality interaction because I was trying to hit those high numbers. In my world, when I came from, more is more is more is more is more. Whereas in this world, it's like, it's okay if you have 5 conversations. If they're all really good conversations, you may want to get to the other 50 or 60 phone calls. But if you're having quality conversations and you're having those each day, 3 to 5 quality conversations are going to go way further than leaving 30 voicemails and, a couple of text messages and everything like that. So I've really had to reshape my mind coming out of that environment to, I almost have to tell myself to slow down. Yeah. It's like, spend that time with them. Don't worry about if you don't get to your 50 phone calls. You may want to, but there's a lot of gold in what you already have and is what's right in front of you.
For sure. Well, and I just like how you've built your business is built to your identity. Because your identity is I'd rather slow down, have a deep conversation, not worry about what time it is, and just hang out. Right?
So true.
Okay, but yet the business you kind of fell into was not that way. And you lasted a long time in it. But when you were somehow got out, to then get into the right business for your personality and build it that way. Because you could also build a call center business in real estate. Superficial, transactional, call center kind of mentality. But you've gone that relationship route. Both are right for the right person.
Yeah.
But you've created your own business with your true identity in mind, and that makes it more fun.
Oh, man, it so does. It's, you and I have talked about this over time. Having the ability to create your business as to who you are and what you like is so much more enjoyable. I remember, I think you sponsored one of the first events I went to when I was with the group with Kevin and Fred, and they had a guest speaker, Nick Waldner. He came in and he told this story about how this girl, and he didn't know if it was intentional or if what her true meaning behind it was, but she wanted to start a shopping group. So she's like, you know what? Once a week, I'm going to get people we'll go shopping for like an hour or two. We'll sit down afterwards. We'll have lunch and we'll talk about what we had. I mean, that sounds incredibly simple, right? Like, I was like, where's this going? And he goes, over time, it went from one person that went with her to 3 to 5. After a year, it was like 20 or 25 people that were coming to a weekly shopping thing to shop. They'd all go buy things, and then they'd talk over lunch and talk about it. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I still don't understand where this is going. Like, what's he talking about? And he goes, if you take a step back, he goes, 1, she built a little bit of a community, which is huge. 2, she got people around each other that like similar interests, so they, became like a little bit of a networking thing. She was at the epicenter of this networking thing, so they knew what she did. Every week she didn't have to hand out flyers or business cards, right? It was just kind of a known thing. But then he goes, and think about it on a deeper level. Who can go shopping during the week and give 3 hours a day? Probably people that have some means in some capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, and for some reason that just always stuck with me. She built it upon who she was, what she liked. And did it take some time? Yeah, it took some time, but the organic relationship she built, and whether it was or wasn't targeted, it sure looked good. Right. And she got tons of business from that.
Doing what she liked and that was her.
Yeah. So simple, but yet so powerful.
Genius.
I know. When I heard that, I was like, that blew my mind. I'm like,
so do you have a group that if you were to do that, okay, I know it wouldn't be a shopping group, but would you make like you've been to my golf thing? Would you do a golf group? Would you because someone who can take 2 to 4 to 5 hours and pay the money for gloves and to play golf, have the means, would that be a thing you'd consider down the road?
I would totally consider that. I think I did a little bit of that back in the day. I created a group, but it was more people within the real estate industry. Mm-hmm. So I think it would, if I could help people, I don't get me wrong, I love hanging out with other real estate agents and real estate professionals. But yeah, if that was something I could create in that world, I think that would be a ton of fun.
It'd be cool to do with your past clients, and then you could incorporate your farm,
totally.
Right? Like, hey, we come and do this. And maybe even if it was an annual charity tournament that you put together.
Yeah.
That started. I mean, could you imagine 10 years from now, you're like, hey, welcome to my 10th annual charity thing. We've raised over $100,000 for the charity over the years, and it's all sphere and database and farm.
Yeah.
And agents can come, right? But because they're part of your sphere that you've built up for this pretty cool thing.
I love that no matter the situation, you're always giving me great advice like this. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on. Like, you are somehow able to push that in there, and that's so true. We've been talking, Katrina and I have been talking a lot about if there is some sort of charity thing that we can do, and we're like, what are we passionate about? And we realize we're really passionate about our dogs, right? We hadn't had the ability to have kids, unfortunately, so our dogs have become our children. And we're like, well, how could we work with something within the community? So that's in the works too. It's maybe for every closing that we do, we throw a certain amount of money to a local shelter, or even take it a step further, like something like you're talking about. Because if you have plenty of friends in your life, you know that a lot of them are passionate about their pets.
Yes.
Whether they're pushing around them strollers, or where they've got bodysuits on them. Or,
I've seen the backpacks.
Oh, right? Man, the backpack.
The Bernedoodle backpack.
Man, there are so many things that it's unbelievable. But and it's on the other side of it, outside of the human part of it, animals just can't take care of themselves. Like dogs, right? They can't. Right. They're not. They're blessed or non-blessed into the house that they go into. So if you can increase those odds of them going into a great place, that's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah. I know you love your animals,
dude, I'm in. You do something with that, I'm in. I like the every closing. I like maybe even tying it in with a big event, especially when it's something that is in it for you. Yeah. That's killer.
Yeah. I think it can work out to be something really fun.
I look forward to watching it happen.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming today, dude. This is awesome. I can't wait for the next one.
Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy.